Welcome to what will be the last part in this Let's Play looking at the campus DLC. The reason I'm going to wind this part up is because we're nearly at 100,000 population. I think we've done most of what we can do with the actually looking at the campus. This university is building up quite nicely. It's a level 3. We probably need some more academic achievements to drive this up a bit harder, and things are looking pretty good. We got the international airport. Also, a big thank you guys for those of you who pointed out that I was on infinite money in the last video. I must admit I didn't notice it because I got so used to having the big pile of cash. The reason for that is that I've been looking at one or two maps in preparation for my next series, which I will talk about towards the end of the video, because although this is the end of this Let's Play, it's not going to be the end of Cities Skylines. I do have this project in mind, but as I say, I will talk about that later. What I want to do is just drive up this last bit of population to get to 100,000, and to do that I think what we're going to do is concentrate on this area here. And I think what I can do is we've got a road through here, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to come out like this behind the sports arena, out like this, and maybe we'll just pop in a little bit like that, and I think we can just hook through there, and I think we're just about, yeah, we're not going to go out much further this way, so I think you can come there. And then we'll just put big watch actually, oops, and we've got a new academic year. So this one's renowned, this one's dropped down because of what's happening is that the numbers of students is being shared between the two universities. I'm just going to pause because I've just noticed that what I really want to do is zone in this area here. We want to put this in as a, I don't want this to be a bit of a drain on the resources of the area, so I think we can just pop that in here like that. Here, what we can do is knock out that area there, and I can take out that area there and that area there. Just build through like that with some offices. Get a little bit of demand for residential. Is looking good. We better come in here. Where's the, never find the, there it is. We will do some scientific study here, try and get that university up and running. As I say, I do want to get to 100,000. I was talking about building a village up here, but what I've done is I've taken that away, because what was happening is that there was a little bit of a traffic jam building up here. Because one of the problems with these dual carriageway type roads is that you don't get the crossing effect, and junctions seem to really slow traffic down. So I've now created this entrance here like that, and things are looking good. I mean, we could get a little bit more, I mean, we've got a little bit more demand for residential, so I think we're just going to concentrate on taking out this market area here, and I think you can out like that. Maybe, whoops, oopsies. No, I know. Series of roads like that, and probably what we can do is just zone over this whole area like this, and maybe up like that, so you can come round to out here just to make sure of the water coverage. And once we reach 100,000, what I'm going to do is go through all these various menus and talk about the different options, the things that I have done, things that I haven't done. This video is going to be more of a little bit of a general review of the situation. I mean, we could Let's see. Maybe just come in a little bit like that. And I think we use offices through here. Like that. Actually, we can probably do... We've got the footbridges in place. Everything's looking good. Nearly there. We just need a little bit more of an extra shove from the perspective of population. Yeah, I mean, we could push up the land value here. And let's see what we can do. Improve the land value. And create a little bit of a surge. Parks are always a good shot for land value. Like that. Yeah, see, straight away that improves that area there. And what we could do is just get people moving in here. Let's check the education. Have to admit, this is a part of the... Whenever I build a city, this is the part of building a city that I really start to enjoy, because what is actually happening is that you can relax. You're no longer building. I must admit, when Cities Skylines first came out, I really enjoyed the initial phase when you were laying the city out, worrying about going bankrupt. But over time, what I've actually tended to do now is, this is the point where I start to enjoy myself, because you can relax. You know the city's built, and it's all about making the city stable and everyone going up here. We just can't seem to get this last 800 population. Maybe we can find some way to get people to come into the city, and maybe just push this up a little bit. Try that. What else have we got here? Maybe we'll give these people some amenities. It's anywhere around here that's like, whoops, what we got here? We got fires over here. Let's check the fire coverage. It's not as good as it should be. Actually, let's check out over here. Yeah, I think maybe we're fire station in here. Get a bit of police coverage as well, and maybe a little bit of healthcare. Yeah, we don't really have death care here as well that we should have. Maybe we'll put the sauna in as well. How about over here? Are you happy people? Wow, got no fire station over here as well either. Well, I'm a little bit worried about this, so let's get some fire coverage in here. Don't have any fire coverage over here either, so I think we can just put that in. And we don't have fire coverage here either. Now, you never want to put fire stations on these dual carriageway type roads, because the coverage is absolutely terrible. So I think what we're going to do is come out here like this and put the fire station out here. And I think we'll put some recycling here as well. Cover that like that. So, right, we've now reached 100,000 population. Everything's looking good. Everything's stable, and I'm really happy with this city. It's come together very well. We've now reached a population of just over 100,000. I have to admit, I'm really happy with the city. It's settled down. It's stable. What we got here? Okay, obviously the earthquake had a bit of a problem and flattened that out. We need to fix that. Yep, I've got a bit of fire there. And again, this is something I really like doing, is that's just wandering around, looking at over the city, seeing how things are growing up and becoming stable. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop actually working on the city, because what I want to do is go through these info views just to talk about what they mean and how I interpret them. I'm not saying that this is the ideal. I'm sure there's some min-max players out there who use them very extensively. But I just want to go through this just to show on the impact, and there are some that I haven't used yet, which is it. So power, we're a bit short on power. What we can do? What can we use? I mean, is there anything new here that I haven't used? What we got here? Okay, we.
Warning. Experts predict an earth hit the area soon.
Don't have a road. Okay, let's just put this out here. Oh. Thank you, game.
An earthquake is occurring. Don't panic and wait for help if you are in the affected area.
It might damage some of these buildings over here. It's a little bit close to the international airport. Yeah, so our recycling centre has collapsed. So we're getting a few collapsed buildings. That's cutting through there. Stop messing about, game. Right, let me just hook this up. So we actually have an ocean-powered power station in the river. That's good to know. What should happen is my disaster recovery teams should leap into action and eventually repair this recycling centre up here. I don't see any more damage. I'm just going to have a quick check. No, we didn't lose any. What we call it? We didn't lose any metro stations. So we're good for power now. Yeah. It looks like we lost a couple of buildings out here. And we got a fire burning here. Looks like my fire stations are. Everything's looking good. So back to here. Water. Now there is a curiosity going on here. As you can see, what's happened is because of all these pumps I've got here, I'm actually causing a backflow back from here. Now this is potentially risky. Luckily I'm using the environmentally friendly water processing plants, but you can see here, but this is drawing in so much water that it's actually reversing the flow of the river. And if I was still using contaminated water ones, just the normal outflows, that would then suck up dirty water into my city. This is one of the risks you run when you lay out these. So what we're going to do is we could put a couple of these out here. So I'd move over to water towers. Yeah, so this is something as your city grows, this is something you do need to be aware of. This can drain the water. You can actually see the water flow in the wrong direction. It is one of those things. There we are. You see my, just do a quick rebuild on that. That will get everything back up and running. We're looking good. Garbage coverage is pretty good. I can't see any real problems. Don't worry too much about what it actually says here. If it starts to drop in the yellow, what you're looking for is, and this is common with a lot of these overlays, what you're looking for is the fact that the roads are green. So that's good, that's good. If you see an area where the roads aren't green, then that's where you've got a potential garbage area problem. And the areas to really look into are these, where you've only got one road in, because it's areas like this that can have garbage problems. So that's pretty good. Education, well, we've looked at this overlay many times. Things are looking good. Yep. University. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I've still got reservations about this public library because, yes, it's an interesting mechanic, and I just can't escape the feeling that because there was public libraries in the before the campus DLC was released, and it's still in the vanilla game, but this mechanic is just been added just to balance the game with that respect, to make it work with the vanilla game, because I don't know, it just doesn't seem to fit very well with, well, the overall way that the city actually works. Well, we could put a library in if I can find it. Yeah, I mean, we could I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about it? Do you think public libraries are useful? I suppose they've got their uses, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be complete. Right, I'm going to have a look at that city happiness. That is pretty good. See, we've got 92% happiness in our residential areas, 76% happiness in our commercial, 96% office, 94% industrial. That's pretty good. And of course, this overlay is quite good to look at this area, and then you can see why this area is here. Why are these people unhappy? Again, we've got a little bit of a garbage issue here. Garbage is piling up, but yeah, I mean, sometimes you do get these little bits of chops and changes, like when the coverage isn't perfect. Overall, I'm very happy with that. I mean, this in some ways, this is a good sign of a healthy city, especially if everyone's happy in their industrial areas as well. So that's working well. Health is a little bit more abstract. And again, I wouldn't be too obsessed about getting everything perfect. And it comes down to what I've said before. It's the actual coverage. But what you need is the coverage inside of your actual residential areas. But at the same time, as long as you don't get dirty water up into your pump system, or again, it comes to pollution. When we look at the pollution overlay, we show, and more importantly, it's noise pollution. As long as that's your residential areas away from that, everything should be good. Everything's nicely balanced and laid out. And of course, the real big difference comes when you start to get the crematoriums. Looks like this is actually finished empty. Well, we'll just leave that there because it's the last part of the thing. Levels, what we got here? Yep. We've got very good levels. We've got one or two areas which aren't quite so good. I would say that these are probably offices. Everything's leveled up very nicely. I'm very happy with that. A couple of areas that still need to be developed, mainly over here. It does take time for these to level up, so yep, that's good. Wind, well, I don't think anyone's there. Now, of course, here's the big one, traffic. And again, consider I've got 100,000 population, the traffic is pretty good. There are one or two little problem areas over here, but generally everything's flowing. And of course, there's the area that I had over here. Where is it? Always have a few problems navigating the city. One's here, yeah, here. This is probably my worst junction. But you can see that because I put the one-way system in, that is now eased off considerably. And oh, there's a problem here. Not enough natural resources. Okay, just put you over here. Yeah, this because there's no trees down here. Yeah, so it's something to think about when you're laying out the areas here. With relation to traffic, is I created the traffic problem by having two storage areas close by. I mean, we're still getting the occasional blockage there, and you can see the queues. Yeah, the key to managing traffic, because I do watch Biff's series where he fixes cities that people send to him that are broken. And the one characteristic I do notice with those cities is, and I think he points it out quite regularly, is the fact that the cities suffer from the fact that you get a big tailback from a specific choke point. So when you're managing the cities from a traffic perspective, try and keep an eye out for where traffic jams start to build up. Once that traffic jam starts to encroach on your structural roads, like these roundabouts here, there, especially your through highways, that's when you've got to really start to address it and get it done. But if you get everything well balanced and set up, you shouldn't suffer from that problem. The traffic, as you can see here, you can have a lot of traffic in the city, but as long as it's flowing. So what you're looking for is any queues, anything that's starting to back up. And overall, this looks pretty good. And the other thing with respect to traffic is that you need to remember that the city needs to act as an integrated unit. And I'll talk a bit more as we go through here. Pollution, pretty good. Now, pollution is one of the factors that affects health. If you keep your heavily polluted areas away from residential areas, especially noise pollution, which we're going to look at now, noise pollution can really make people ill. So what you want is any concentrated noise away from the city. And of course, unfortunately, some of these buildings, oh, we haven't got any of these unlocked. Okay. But these, you can see, these all create noise pollution. Even the parks. If I can find a park here. You've got, that's got a noise pollution of 50. So if I put this,
Meteorologists are issuing a thunderstorm warning for the coming
you
days.
can see here straight away. If I
Citizens
do
are
that,
advised to
I've
stay
broken
indoors.
the. Okay, I need to just hook up that power line. Just like that. If we go back to the noise map, you can see even this park is now affecting this area with noise. In some ways, there's a contradiction in the game that you want to put these fountains out in residential areas to increase land value. At the same time, the noise actually makes them sick. So in some ways, what you want to really do is, when you design the city, is you want to put the parks into commercial areas close to residential areas. So the residential area gets a benefit, but they don't suffer from the noise. Wow, 9.7 severity thunderstorm. That's going to be a pretty painful process. Now, fire safety. Again, don't worry too much about the fact that the buildings. You're not looking for everything green. What you're looking for is areas of the city where the roads are not green. Okay, we've got a thunderstorm coming in over here. That could be a little bit of an issue over here.
Stay indoors until the storm has passed.
See, here's an example. There's an issue here. Wow. There's an issue here in the sense that this area here, there's no coverage. So if we put in here, you can see you can get the coverage. So we've got a fire station there. That turns that whole area green, or the road's green, and that has an immediate impact. Wow. Now, of course, the thunderstorms are going to hit my power lines. So moving on, guys. Crime is very much the same as fire coverage. What you're looking for is green roads. So technically there could be a problem here, but generally, because we got a police helicopter depot there, that's actually covering this area quite nicely. What I do need to do is keep an eye on this area so that it doesn't cut off my water supply. Right. Yeah. Sometimes what it pays is to actually... Wow, okay. Yeah. Sometimes you need to duplicate the lines. Get that across there. Yeah, this is one of my weak areas, so... What I probably should do is... a secondary line across here as well. Looks like I've lost just as an insurance. I mean, if you don't have disasters enabled, you don't need to worry about this, but if I do that, that gives me a second power line into here. Things on fire, yep, thank you. See, I've got that power line, that connection in just in time because it's blown this one here. I'm just going to hook out this here. I think overall we survived that quite well. We've taken some fire damage, but I'm pretty sure my fire crews are on the case. Yep. Where was I? Crime. Public transport. Now with public transport, what I would say, guys, if you're going to build a large city, invest in the metro system. It's by far the most efficient way of moving people around the city. So we got a power problem here again. And knock those out. Get back to here. That's connected that power line through there. That's connected up. That's connected up. Yeah, metros are by far the most efficient way to move people around the city. They don't cause road congestion. If I can find the metro system, I'll never find it. You can see here the sheer numbers of people who are traveling on this regularly. See 815 for this line. Got no idea where it is. Yeah, you can see straight away people moving through this area here. There are times with this map that you can see this station here, which is actually right in the core of this area. It's a relatively new station. It goes to show that this is pulling people in. So public transport is the way to move people around your city, and of all of them, metro is the best, although bus routes and other forms do come into it. What I will say is that monorails look attractive, but they are incredibly noisy. So what you really want to do is use monorails to connect sections of the city. So say for example I had a reason to put a connection through here, you could use a monorail to put through to this section here. Anyway, I don't want to drag that out too much. Population, yeah, and the population looks pretty well balanced. Good mixture of families and adults. And again, this is a way that you can actually check for death waves, because if you've got an area which is mostly senior, that's where you're actually going to get the death wave. But this looks a pretty well balanced city. I'm pretty happy with that. You guys blow out that power line again. I think we'll just go with that there. So yeah, population, outside connections. This is, oops, got there. So universities have both gained promotions. That's looking really great. So we are our new university over here. If I can find it, now be a level 4. Yep. And I suppose we can give them a dissertation research. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to improve the standing here. Of course, new buildings have been unlocked, but I'm not going to look at those guys. I think you're probably familiar with the process now. Everything's running along quite nicely. We're running at 105,000 at the moment. We've lost another power line here. Yeah. Thunderstorms aren't a problem. They're just annoying, is probably the polite way of saying it. Actually don't need that power line now. Break connection through there. So we'll look, that's good. So back to what was I talking about? Outside connections, yeah. Now outside connections are useful because this can actually show where you've got bad city design. So for example, if you've got an area which is showing lots of imports and exports, so this is a potential problem here in the sense you've got lots of exports here, which means you've got potential traffic flowing out from here. But because this is predominantly office blocks, I would say that that is actually goods being exported. You know, it says it's goods there. What am I on about? And that is an indication that maybe your city is out unbalanced, and you do need to move an area to a better road can make connections. So that's probably all I need to say about that. Land value. Now I've actually watched some people building cities, and they've been very obsessed with land value. I personally don't get too obsessed with land value. What I tend to do is, as long as they're in the green towards high, I'm quite happy with that, because that shows that your city's healthy. I mean, if this residential area was down in the pale blue or something like that, then that's an issue. But as long as your city's in a reasonable level here, I mean, this isn't so high because this is actually my farming area here, and of course my industrial area is quite low, but I'm not particularly worried about that. That was put in simply to drive my specialised industry. I mean, we've got a little bit of an issue here that probably could do with a bit of a boost, because I'm pretty sure that is actually, yeah, this is commercial, so maybe we could improve this a little bit if we can find another park. Festival area, don't really want a festival area. We got a bird and bee haven, but that's massive. You got here friendly neighborhood park. Wow, that's big. Yeah, that's we can put that in there. That will bring up the land value. You can see straight away that has an immediate impact, and this is where I would put something like that in here, because it won't create the noise. See, the noise is still away from the residential area, and commercial areas are a little bit more tolerant from noise than, say, a residential area. So that's probably an ideal place to put in something that's going to work like that. I know it's strictly speaking, it's not, and it should, people would instinctively think that that needs to be in a residential area, but this is a good idea, close enough to have an impact, but not so close as to put noise on. So you can see how wide that noise is spread. In fact, it's actually starting to spread into this no, that's financial services. So yeah, so I've just got that just about right. So the noise comes over, but it doesn't go too much into the residential area here, affecting people's health. Natural resources, I'll skip that because I think you're all familiar with natural resources. Districts, again, when it comes to districts, what you're looking for is the overall coverage of the city, in the sense that where things are, and you can see you get a nice patchwork. And of course the key use of districts is to prevent rat runs. By putting in strategic districts, a bit like this one here, you stop that rat run. Because what I would have had now, if I hadn't put this blocker in here, what would be happening is I'd be getting traffic coming in here, trying to get through into here, get down to here, filling in this. So by putting that in and putting the old town and heavy vehicle ban here, that's actually keeping this flow of traffic through this road very low. And this comes back to traffic management, that this would be a natural rat run. You'd have lots of trucks coming through here, down here to get to here, because the game will calculate this as a quicker route than this route. But bear in mind that when the game calculates the journeys, it's the speed of the road. So again, if I'd say Sunny decided to upgrade this road here to a highway and I didn't have the block in over here, the game would say, oh yeah, this is a quicker route through here to get to here. So again, it's something you need to think about when you're actually planning your city's laying out, that small changes can have big consequences. So I think that's about it. We've got districts, leisure. Wow, okay, that was a bit icky spotty. I'm not sure what was causing that. Leisure generally is okay. That's unique buildings, parks. Yeah, it's probably not perfect. Libraries, yeah, well, our sports arenas. I mean, to be honest, I don't really use leisure coverage that much, so terrain height was skipped. Heating's a bit of an odd one because this is to do with the winter DLC. I can't remember what its proper name was. And again, I think this is an underdeveloped mechanic for the game, because you can basically completely ignore it here. As you can see, it says inactive. And personally, I would like to see this have some impact on the city. Maybe if it was altitude or mountains or something like that. So say, for example, if you were building up around here, I mean, I don't know how it would work, but this heating is very much an underutilized mechanic within the game. And next one is road maintenance. Generally, road maintenance, you only really need one, maybe two buildings. Yeah, I mean, this side is covered very well, but this side isn't. And of course, so what I could do to fix that is you could put another road maintenance vehicle in here. Again, I don't really feel the need to build these. So often I just put them in for completeness. I mean, you can see the road condition here. Even in areas like this where they got the coverage, and I just don't feel the return. You can see it says boosted, and when the traffic DLC came out, I did a little bit of experimentation, but to be honest, I don't think the boosted here really justifies the cost. and I've certainly never was able to fix a traffic problem using it. Okay, so escape routes. Well, I haven't built any escape routes because I didn't build any shelters. This is very much tied into the disasters DLC. I mean, truthfully, escape routes are really only relevant if you're at risk of a tsunami. I mean, a meteorite strike or thunderstorms, I think you don't really need to evacuate your citizens. Say the real killer is a tsunami, because that will sweep in and sweep over your buildings. So to be honest, I've never felt the need to put escape routes in unless I'm really close to the coast. Anyway, let's move on. Radio coverage. This is something that I've neglected completely because I didn't really feel the need for it. Now, radios have two benefits. One, if you are in a city that is at risk of tornadoes. Tornadoes is another one, actually. I said tsunamis was a reason for building shelters. Tornadoes is another one that can give you problems you need to evacuate. And radios, which are in here, if I can find it. Is it? I'm sure. Emergency services, there we are. So radios are a good way to boost your city should you need it. I'm going to drop one in there, so straight away that comes out here. You've got two sizes. You can put a small one in as well. One in here. It has an immediate effect on the value of your property and your cities. I mean, we could put another big one over here. And it does improve the actual evacuation rate in your city if you are playing with the Disasters DLC. But similar to shelters, it's really only needed if you're doing the scenarios that involve tornadoes and tsunamis. But I mean, it's fun to put it in. So you can see we've now got pretty good radio coverage. That will boost the value of the city. I mean, anyway, so we'll move on. Destruction. I shouldn't have any destruction, although we did have the thunderstorms, so have a quick look. Again, this is very much an overlay you need after a disaster, especially a tornado which has swept across the city, or a tsunami, or well, anything, to be honest. But, so we're just going to move on. Disaster detection. This is your disaster detection devices. I mean, I've neglected this to a certain degree. I mean, here's the tsunami warning buoys. We're not actually at risk of it. I mean, we could put an earthquake detector over here, and that will help. That would have picked up this earthquake over here and taken me to it. And we've got a couple of specialised buildings. Of course, you've got the shelters here and the disaster response units. And for any of you guys who've never seen a shelter, what you do is just place them like that. Now, the thing about shelters is they do need food and water and power. So you need to put them somewhere where vehicles can deliver food to them. Because what happens is if they run out of food or water, or even if they lose power, what will actually happen is that people will not actually go into them. This is what shelters look like. So you can see it shelters 1,000 people. And another quick tip, guys, if you do put shelters out, if you're doing a disaster scenario, don't forget about your industry and commercial, because if you neglect this area, the people working in this area when the disaster struck will also die. And this is obviously the traffic manager that I've been using. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Never really found much use for this option again. I'm not sure what it does. I don't really know. Anyway, if any of you guys actually know, feel free to tell me. Tourism, again, this is an overlay that I just don't really see the benefit from it. As you can see, all these buildings generate a certain amount of tourism. Yeah, Japanese garden. As long as it's distributed across the city, I don't see much point in worrying too much about it. I mean, obviously we've got a little bit of a concentration up here with my hotel area here feeding the airport. And you can see low wealth, high wealth, and exchange student. You know, so I mean, everything is exchange student bonus. That's new. And I don't think I've got any tours lined up here. So I think this is used if you want to set up a tour route, and of course, or a walking tour or a balloon tour, because it shows you where people would be attracted to going to. Again, to be honest, I've never really used this that much. Maybe in my next project I will get into this a bit more. Park maintenance, okay. Industry areas. Again, this is useful for planning industries. So you've got farming, or you can see over here I've never really developed the ore area. And finally, post offices. Oh, I've forgotten all about post offices. Post offices is one of these features that's in the game, but I think I just keep forgetting about it. Actually, let's just have a quick look. I don't remember where it actually is. Road tolls. There's post offices then. Okay, for some strange reason the post office is part of transport. What you've actually got is you've got a postal sorting facility and small little post office. So what you can do is drop these in, and what happens is the post offices send out trucks and go there. But again, be aware of the noise pollution, so don't be tempted to whack them down in the center of your residential areas. What you need to do is find your commercial areas here. So we got a little bit of a commercial area here, and I've forgotten exactly where the post office is. It's in transport. So what I would probably do is put a post office in maybe just about there. Oh, that's in the wrong place. Yeah, let's talk that out, and we'll put you over there. And then what will happen is the post office trucks will go out and lay out there. I think the only difference between the actual post offices and the postal sorting areas range. I think these they sort more pieces of mail. To be honest, it's something I've never really used that extensively in any of my games. I suppose we could put something in the university here, but again, it's a way of getting a quick boost into the city. I mean, we could put one up here, and again, you'll see that this doesn't really have that much effect on the surrounding area compared to, say, a post office. The post office has I think the way it is, the sorting office actually acts as the center for the process. Maybe in the next project I will focus a bit more on post offices. Anyway guys, that's all the overlays. You can see while I've been talking, the city is quite happily built up to 110,000. If everything is nice and stable, I'm very happy with this. So just to wind this video up, guys, what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the next project, because as I said, this is the last video in this series. What I will be doing is building a city, and what I want to do is do all the unlocks here, because what happened is this is a new install onto my new PC. Therefore, all the unlocks that I've done are now have to be completely done again. You can see here if I flash through, some are already unlocked. What I want to do is I'm currently looking at a map. That's the reason why I was on unlimited money and full unlocks, because I was trying to find a map that will fulfill the objectives of my project. And the purpose of that project is, looks like we've got some water leaking into here a little bit. Never mind, it's not a problem. So the next project is going to be very much to build a very large city. I would like to get up to, say, over 300,000, maybe even higher than that, because I've now got a PC that can handle it. What's always limited me in the past is being the fact that once you get to a certain size, the game starts to stutter, and it just makes building a bit difficult. But what I want to do is I'm going to do a reset of all the buildings, and I'm going to, as part of this building this large city, I'm going to go through the process of doing all those unlocks. So the idea is to eventually get to a very large city with everything unlocked. Now, part of the downside is that I don't know if I can actually find it in here. there are some of these built in here, and there are some items which need me to do some of the scenarios. It took me a little while to find it, but like this sparkly unicorn rainbow park. So to unlock this, you've got to win all 5 scenarios that came with the National Disasters Park. So what could happen is that when I reset all these, we will lose that. And if that happens, what I will do then is I will go back and do some of the disaster scenarios, because another reason for doing that is that I'm curious to see how easy or difficult those scenarios have become now that you've got the other DLCs that have been overlaid on top. So that's going. So what might happen is while I'm working on the main city, there may be occasional divergence into doing some of the scenarios just for the fun of it. Anyway, guys, so I think that's going to be the way we're going to go. Anyway, I think that's about it for this series. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. Any questions, comments, any ideas about the upcoming series, feel free to chuck it into the video description. I will try and get back to you, and as I say, I am very interested in any extra comments about how you think that new upcoming series will play through. But this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.